me get a jacket real quick. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a level on fighter.
Oh, that's good. Well, hello everyone. Gary's taking a level in fighter. Welcome to another episode of Next to the Floor. I didn't tell him that we were starting, so he's currently creating or continuing to build one of his characters for our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which I think is pretty cool. Hello, Gary.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hello. That's, it's going good. I'm chilling,
That's good. Hold on, pause 1 second. I've got to fix your camera because it's acting up. Okay, there we go. Now everybody can see you, everybody can hear you, everything's copacetic. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, except I can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me? Oh, it's because I turned off my camera. Sorry, everyone. We're figuring out technology one day at a time. Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy Hurricane Sunday.
Hurricane Sunday. Not much of a hurricane, is it, huh?
Not really at all. So, there was a lot of buildup. I mean, fortunately, we're doing pretty okay up here in Boston Way. As is, most things in New England weather are they're proclaimed to be like the storm of the century or whatever, and then turn out to be a very inconvenient, like misting or drizzle. It's just very, very foggy up here.
Yeah, it rained a little bit in the morning, and I was just like, it was like drizzling. Okay, all right, maybe it's going to pick up, and then it just stopped, and yeah.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so that's exciting. Hooray.
Hooray, I guess.
But it is a tropical storm now. So Tropical Storm Henry. Turned out Henry couldn't manage to stay strong enough. So, sucks to suck, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Weak.
What's exciting? So, I don't know if you know this or people at home know this, but we've officially hit our 1 year anniversary of this here show thing, podcast, casual conversations that Gary, myself, Bjorn, Drew, Steven, etc., just randomly have. And we did it. We hit 1 year.
1 year.
And we are still dealing with COVID.
Yeah. And we started it not even in the beginning of COVID. It was like
3 or 4 months into it. And yet here we are. Cases are back on the rise.
Going back to the masks now.
Going back to masking, which, inconvenient, sure. Annoying, yes. Could people just figure themselves out and get their lives together? You would think. Rather, one could only hope.
Can people get vaccinated?
I'm just saying. But,
There's news on the booster shots, though.
Yeah, so turns out, like, mid-September, I think, is when that's supposed to be, like, a thing. So that's cool, I guess. Or good news.
not for the non-vax.
Not for the
Not
non-vax,
for the non-vaxxers.
right? But I was watching our topic for today, just so everybody knows, there isn't really a topic, fortunately, and I know it says in the description, fortunately, for kind of like, sort of kind of, this is a sort of kind of statement, but like for the first time in a solid year, sorry, also pruning my plants as we talk. For the first time in what feels like forever, Black people haven't been at like the forefront of the conversation. Kind of. There are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, because there are a couple of things that happened in the last week that, like, as we were talking about it earlier, I was like, oh wait, these couple of things actually did happen, and I wanted to get your take on it. But yeah, it's we're coming up to a spot where we're going to be able to start getting booster shots for the COVID vaccine, which has a lot of people like concerned in the efficacy of the original vaccine.
Do they know what booster shots are?
No, and so this is, I think, the really interesting thing. I was watching this interview with not the head of the CDC, but like one of the people who work for the CDC. Was it the CDC? I think it was the CDC or the FDA. I can't remember, but they were talking about like the interviewer, I forget who it was, like asked, why, if we're concerned that, the COVID-19 vaccine isn't going to be efficient long term, why are we, like, how do we know that the COVID vaccine isn't going to be efficient for a longer period of time? I think that was the question. And the director of the CDC, or whatever her title was, she basically said that, like, because the vaccine is so new, they don't have the information yet available to say whether or not, like, what is the length of time that the COVID vaccine will have, like, its efficacy at whatever percentage it was. But what they want to try to avoid long term is waning efficiency of the vaccine. So they're like, yeah, we're figuring, like, just make booster shots available now so that people can just like re-up on your vaccine and avoid, right, even if you're still at like 100% immunity to it, like re-up anyway, just in case.
Can't hurt.
I mean, like, because I think about it, like, when was the last time you got your tetanus vaccine, or when was the last time you got your tetanus booster? Question mark.
Well, I mean, I was with the military.
I was gonna say, like,
with a minute, and I'm actually the type of person that's prone to injuries by, like,
just in general as like a concept.
As a concept, and I might have received booster shots for tetanus more often than a normal person. So I would probably have to say, like, maybe, well, not like a year, but a year and a half ago, maybe.
Well,
2 years. Actually, like 2 years ago.
I got mine because I think you're supposed to get one every 10 years or something along those lines. But I think about this, one of the reasons why, like, I am pretty, like, consistent about getting my boosters and things along those lines is because I remember watching this episode of House when I was in high school, and this girl ended up with, like, I know that it's a completely different thing than tetanus, but she ended up with some sort of like flesh-eating bacteria. Was it House? Or no, it was one of those like Creatures Inside Me sort of like TLC or like National Geographic shows where like
Parasite.
Yeah. So this woman, she was just like, walking about at this like cafe or restaurant or something, and like ran into a table accidentally, like just like bumped into this table and ended up like getting a small cut, like not even really like anything worth noting, just like a cut or just like a scratch on her leg or something, and it turned into this flesh-eating bacteria. Like there was apparently some sort of flesh-eating bacteria there, and then she ended up like months later having her leg amputated. And so since watching that, I've been like, oh God, that's
Yeah.
how I die.
That stuff is very real too.
Yes.
It's very real.
And
Like
just
when you
as,
like
just as real as dying on a Ferris wheel. We discussed that last week. If you haven't seen or listened to last week's episode, I go into full description about how I almost died on a Ferris wheel and why they are the worst amusement ride.
we were
So,
talking about how he was you know, scared of heights.
yes. Well, not even scared of heights, just scared of, Ferris wheels because they're pointless and not fun, and you could you can
they're,
potentially die on them. So,
they're pointless. Get it?
because it's a wheel.
It's a wheel.
Gary, everyone, stay tuned for his comedy special coming next week, Next to the Floor. So it's gonna be a riot. But yeah, so that's been, every time I like bump into something, which I inevitably do every day, that's the first thing I think about is, oh God, I now have a flesh-eating bacteria lodged into this small little scrape that I have on my finger, and I'm gonna lose my hand or whatever. I also think about, how videos like that have ruined various aspects of my life. Not ruined, that's a very like big thing to say. But, like I grew up in upstate New York, right next to, not too far from the Finger Lakes. We were like a 5 mile trip to like Gilbert Lake State Park and would go there very frequently and go swimming in the lake. I was a camp counselor, and the summer camp that I went to or worked for, we would take the kids swimming in the lake, and I was a camper there as well. So, swimming was just a thing that we did in the lake. And then I got to high school and watched the like parasite video. And like you learn about all of the different like parasites and things that live in various forms of water. And I learned about Loa Loa, which is like eye worms that really are very rare and kind of like only exist in like Southeast Asian and like Hawaiian communities or something along those lines. So not possible to get while you're in a lake. But watch that video, never went swimming in a lake ever again. I said no thank you.
So
Speaking
that,
of,
speaking of organisms that enter your body through in water, so that go. I'm gonna put that on pause, and
mm,
I'm gonna go back to something that you said. It was how it like ruined your kind of like your life almost. You're like now you're just like, oh, you're always looking out for that one thing to happen, and it's just
mm-hmm.
like, oh, did that one thing happen? Kind of like how like Final Destination pretty much destroyed a whole
Oh
generation.
my god. I know. Like, you want to talk about a cultural. Let's talk cultural resets. The fact that an entire generation or two of people refuse to drive behind a flatbed truck with logs because it's gonna happen. I'm gonna be the Final Destination kid, who ends up logged to the face.
You know what though? I bet percentage wise, a lot of rare accidents have been like avoided.
Oh yeah,
Because of that.
100%. And then death is like, haha, joke's on you. You thought you could escape me? No.
Guess you thought you escaped me. You jumped in a hot spring that had organisms that swim up through your
Right.
urethra.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or like, walking down the street after you almost choke on a like plastic fish at the dentist office. And then, you'll leave the dentist office and a giant pane of glass falls and crushes you. I mean, it's bound to happen.
No, and those type of things are like, and those type of things are like the far right is like trying to say, oh, you know what? It's more likely for you to get tetanus and die of like parasitic organisms than like getting COVID. And I'm just like, that
That
shut
doesn't
up.
make any. Honestly, shut up. It's so stupid. And, circling back to like the more important thing, Final Destination franchise situations notwithstanding. I watched an entire film, like a 30-minute film the other day on YouTube, of this girl who literally like went through each of the movies and like did a tier list of the different deaths in Final Destination. It was wild times. But speaking of COVID, I said in the beginning that not a whole lot has happened vis-a-vis, the Black community, knock on wood, in the last week or so.
I mean, there has been, but it's just the ongoing release of like police footage and body cam footage.
Oh yeah,
Still is trickling out, and I
still
guess now,
happening.
still happening, and it's now like I guess everybody's kind of like numb to it.
But what I think is happening more so frequently now is that like any footage that is captured of it, it's like things are happening as a result of it.
Yes.
So that's good. I have to look at the statistics on that to see what's actually happening. But there was an interview done earlier this week. By earlier this week, I mean last week, because today's Sunday, by the Lieutenant Governor of Texas on none other than Fox News, obviously, because where else on the Ingraham angle, because everybody's favorite shrill banshee who...
That's crazy. I mean, like, I'm like, of course you would go to Fox News.
Well, I mean, like, where else is a far right pundit gonna go? Anywho, so he is on there and saying how, yes, COVID is a very, very... He actually, like, says out loud that, like, COVID is a very bad thing and that people should get vaccinated, but he finds it very interesting that, Democrats are saying that Republicans are largely to blame for the resurgence of COVID in Texas and Florida. And when he says a large portion of the Black community, these are his words. Hold on, I'm gonna quickly play the clip because it was wild. I need to like actually get his words. I'm just gonna play it into my speaker because I think that'll be easier. But he effectively says that, large populations or large percentages of Black people in Texas aren't vaccinated. And Black people are largely Democratic. And therefore, Democrats are to blame for the resurgence. No, not Democrats, but Black people are to blame for the resurgence of COVID in Texas. Which I'm like... there's the penny dropping 100%. Hold on, let me...
you know what? Like,
I'm going to let you stew on that one. And
okay, you know what? I already have something for that because it's like, I bet. I don't even know the facts, but I'm going to make a wild assumption. It's not even a wild assumption. If you put the... Let's talk about the election real quick. If you put the election map and availability of polls, like polling centers, and then have like the availability of vaccination centers and urban like areas and like not what's the word I'm thinking about?
Suburban?
Yeah, like obviously. There's going to be more places where you can get a vaccine in areas that are developed and gentrified already, Like, I'm pretty sure there's a statistic on there on, like, less places to be able to get vaccination.
1,000.
Less, just the resources, Because, listen, the Democrats aren't the anti-vaxxers.
Facts, like big facts. Hold on. So I fortunately was able to pull up this video, and I'm gonna share it with you, Gary, so you know what I'm talking about. Let me get this thing going for the good people of the world. We're going to transition, and then we'll hit play. Oh, hold on, we're not going to hit play. We're going to unmute, and then we'll hit play. So this is...
first, though.
Yeah, it's on... I sent it to you. It's on Facebook.
Oh, I see it.
Particularly, most of the numbers are with the unvaccinated, and the Democrats like to blame Republicans on that. Well, the biggest group in most states are African Americans who have not been vaccinated. And the last time I checked, over 90% of them vote for Democrats in their major cities and major counties.
So, and it's a very, very quick clip when he says it. Like, it literally takes him 15 seconds to call out the black community in there, which it's wild. So he claims, just to summarize, or make it a quicker statement, that the majority of unvaccinated populations in the U.S. are majority black, and black communities, over 90% of black people vote for Democrats. Therefore, it is the Democrats' fault for the rise in COVID cases in America, which, I've said it before, I will say it again, and I will shout it from the rooftops that, white people will go to the greatest of lengths, will bend over backwards, flip through seven hula hoops, and skip over 6 hurdles with their hands tied behind their back, their shoelaces tied, uphill both ways in the snow, through a blizzard, a hurricane down the road, to uphold this notion of white supremacy. And especially in this kind of situation too, like when we're talking about like the surges of COVID amongst just populations in general, to ignore very clear statistics, like that a cursory Google search, cursory being like meaning that like all you have to do quite literally is just open Google and type in the words like black population of Texas, that black people in Texas constitute 13% of the population. I think it might even be less. The other 87% of the population is white and Hispanic. The vaccination rate of black Texans, I think, is at 38%, based on the interview that I just watched. And the unvaccinated rate of white and Hispanics is 42%. The reason why they lump white and Hispanics into the same kind of population in Texas is because it's like, throw a stone and you're gonna hit either a white person or a Hispanic person, because that's just the makeup of Texas, right? So it was Mexico. It was in fact Mexico for a very long time. But
guess what? We kind of was like,
it is ours now. Thank you. Thanks, it's ours. But that's not to blame Hispanic populations whatsoever. But to say that it is black people's fault for being like lagging 4% behind the majority population, and then blame the Democratic Party for not vaccinating their people when your people, TM, are 4%, there's a 4% margin between being vaccinated and unvaccinated, or between being unvaccinated as a white person and being vaccinated as a black person. And white people are like 3 times more likely to vote Republican in Texas than they are to vote Democrat. However, just a reminder that Texas almost went blue. So even those statistics are a little bit suspect. But, it's like, it's pointing out that somebody's got barbecue sauce on their shirt when you've got a huge ass stain on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and in some sense, is he accurate in the sense that like Democrats need to do a better job, or like the left needs to do a better job about about educating their base as to like the dangers of COVID and alleviating vaccine hesitancy, especially when you have when there is a history for Black people of like medicine as a means of, I guess, psychological or physical warfare and or terror, like looking back to the Tuskegee experiment. If you look at the number of the infant and mother mortality rates of Black women in comparison to white women, the literal study of, we talked about this on an episode before about how in the study of medicine for a very, very long time, and these are things that are being reconsidered now in the year our Lord 2021, the like pain index, in that there is a common misconception, and still is, that Black people experience pain significantly less than white people, and that has kind of like driven a huge part of medicine, so that like Black people experience death a lot more significantly, especially when under medical care, than white counterparts. So there's a whole history as to why Black people, or that feeds into the fact that Black people are more hesitant to receive the vaccine than their white peers. However, that does not erase the fact that it is by and large Republican right-wing propaganda that's led to an extreme case of vaccine hesitancy and the resurgence of the Delta virus, or Delta variant of the COVID virus. And here we are, circling back basically to like square one.
And even the coronavirus is getting into Loki.
Oh my God, 100%. And well, here's the other Loki joke aside, the crazy thing, like you've got these two governors, or multiple governors, Ron DeSantis, Governor something Abbott, I think it's George, he looks like a George, but Abbott, who like are both have made like these huge sweeping mandates saying like, you can't have mask mandates, you can't force people to get vaccinated, blah blah blah, all these like things that are really driving the pandemic and driving these huge caseloads in Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, in all of these places where Alabama now has a 100% capacity. They are at 100% capacity for their ICUs across the state, like 100%. But in particular, Governor Abbott, he, has been a proponent of all of these like anti-vaccine, anti-mask, anti-like science mandates, basically, and then turns around and gets COVID himself, and then ends up, ironically, getting the same exact kind of like high cost, like Regeneron, plasma, blah 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 treatment that Donald Trump did when he was in office, and is still telling people, and is quarantining, of course, in his mansion, like his governor's mansion in Texas, and still is telling people, don't wear masks, don't get vaccinated, it's all not real, blah 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 blah.
Well, I mean, like, how else are they gonna make money?
Facts, what? Yeah. It's just, it's disheartening. Yeah, that's the hottest stuff takes. Well, so while we're here, because as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a shorter episode today because there's not a whole lot, aside from COVID, and we're already kind of over talking about COVID, there's not a whole lot to talk about in the world of news and media and blah, blah, blah. But I'm whipping together a couple of clips of some of Gary and my practices for our dancing debut in Florida. Speaking of Florida, we're going to Florida. Are we excited about it? No.
No, not really.
Not for, like, I'm excited to go and dance, but I'm not excited to go to Florida.
I don't want to like leave the ballroom.
At all. I know, and I was so excited to be able to like leave the ballroom.
Yeah.
But like now I'm
like, I mean, because it's Florida. I mean, like in the beach.
Am I gonna go out? Am I gonna go outside? A faux show. Am I gonna hang out with people? Absolutely not. I don't want to see nobody. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want nobody to touch me, look at me, whatever.
Who knows? Crazy Florida man might come and bite your ear off.
And I will end up, page 1. That's all I've ever wanted. But I wanted to, I'm trying to piece together a couple of clips so that people can see what we're working on. I'm really excited about it. Our Mambo, sick, nasty, we were working on it today. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I don't know much about Mambo, but I think it looks pretty great. So, stay tuned for that. It's super fun. But today's episode of Next to the Floor it's not really even, it is a not sponsor because it's not really somebody like that would sponsor anything because it's a nonprofit organization. But today we are hashtag not sponsored by directrelief.org. Direct Relief is a nonprofit organization that provides, as their name implies, direct relief to places, people that are experiencing various emergencies. Their current focus right now is the Haitian earthquake, that 7.2 magnitude earthquake that struck, I think it was last week or the week before, like quite literally just at the start of the hurricane season. So that's exciting. And Haiti is still recovering from the earthquake that happened last year. So make sure you head over to directrelief.org and donate. The reason why I chose Direct Relief, I found actually this website, and this is just kind of general stuff for the people. There's this website that I found called charitynavigator.org. I will link that in our various videos on Facebook, on YouTube, etc. But basically, if you're looking for a specific charity or something to donate to, and you want to, you're concerned about like how much of your donation is going to be actually be going to the people affected or to the charity, this is a really great way to filter that. A lot of organizations are not as giving as you would think. So organizations like the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, Goodwill, etc., like they might on their face be a charitable organization, but when you look at the the pay scale, pay structure of their board of directors, things along those lines, you start to realize, that like a lot of the money that I'm donating is going to these people's pockets as opposed to the actual people affected. So Charity Navigator, great place because you type in either a charity name, keyword, or some sort of like issue that's going on, and it will give you a list over here on the right of, not now, thank you, of all the different organizations that donate to that particular cause, and actually gives them a rating out of 4 stars. So that's really cool. that they do that, and it will tell you, and that's why I had Direct Relief open. It actually tells you like how their rating system works. It gives you the breakdown of like program expenses, admin expenses, fundraising expenses, et cetera, so that way you can see what exactly that organization stands for. And things along those lines, so that way you can make the best, like you can make the best decision and most informed decision for yourself as somebody who's donating. So yeah, so there's that. There's two really cool bits of things. Mostly because, and the reason why I wanted to find something like this personally for myself is because I'm sick and tired of going to the grocery store or to like CVS or something along those lines and being like shoehorned into donating an extra $1 or something along those lines to some cause, this, that, and the other cause. Like, as much as I am a very charitable person and want to be able to give that extra $1 to at the end of my checkout to the Jimmy Fund or like Feeding America or whatever, I would much rather do that on my own directly through the organization. And I recommend everyone at home that you give to those organizations directly rather than through a third party like CVS or Shaw's or Star Market, because what ends up happening in those situations, let's say, they have 1 billion people who visit their store in one day. 1 million of those people donate $1. That's $1 million that Star Market then donates, or Shaw's or Walmart donates to this charitable organization, and then Walmart gets a $1 million tax write-off. So
it's all about the money.
It's all about the money. So there's just something to think about. As always, we're here to try to entertain you and things along those lines. So make sure you check out our Patreon, patreon.com/next to the floor. That is next to the floor. There's our link right there. You can find that in the description box, etc. Thank you to our current Patreons. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are today. Well, we love you. It helps pay for, all of the expenses that go into this crazy adventure that we've got going on 1 year later, which is really, really crazy. Yeah, so by and large, all we want to say is that, get vaccinated if you're not already.
And stop blaming black people for things.
Unless black people are the actual problem, which they're not.
Even if they are.
Even if they are. Like, if this is the thing. Even if we are the problem, we know we're the problem.
We know. Like, we already know.
It's like, duh.
We did.
We know. Right. Honestly, if we're the problem, it's because we did it, it was a conscious thought. We know we did it. There's at least some integrity behind it. I think that's the thing. Like, if we're going to do some shit, it's because...
Well, we didn't own up to it. We admit it.
Right. We're like, yeah, we did that. Yes. Why'd you... Yes, we did that. Duh. Hello. Here's why. Da 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 da. We'll give you the reasons. We're not going to hide behind some sort of facade like, oh no, blah, we're innocent. Don't, man up. But, that's all we've got for today. Sorry it's a short episode. Truthfully, I'm exhausted.
I'm very tired.
We had one of our first major events as an area yesterday. I danced pretty much the entire time, which was great. But my body is tired. I'm mentally exhausted. And not because of a normal thing. I'm just exhausted. And then we had a great practice today, and so I'm even more exhausted because of that. Yeah. That's the end. That's all I have. I've got no more love left to give. So, with that said, Gary, send the people off.
Thank you for watching Next to the Floor podcast. This is Harrison and Gary. Thank you for joining us.
You had to think about that. You had to think about what our names were.
Oh, I just called myself Harrison.
Yeah, I know. I was there. That's how y'all know where we are. Anywho, that's Gary. I'm Harrison. Check out directrelief.org, or if you want to look for other great charities, check out charitynavigator.org. Make sure you check out our main man Bjorn's company, therockdance.com. He's helped us a lot with some choreography for a student of ours who's wicked excited about doing some hip hop. So make sure you check out the Rock Dance. Expand your dance horizons. Remember, Black Lives Matter always. Period. Poo. And that's all. Period. It costs you $0 to be a nice person. It will cost you $1 to donate to the Direct Relief Fund. So make sure you do that. Don't donate money through third parties like your local grocery store, like chain grocery store, because they're just in it to get a tax write-off, which, you might as well get the tax write-off. Like, the fuck? Excuse my language, but like, why are you donating that money when you could get the tax write-off? I'm asking. So with that, have a blessed, wonderful, amazing next couple of weeks. We'll be back, in September.
Do you remember?
I don't. We'll be back in September for our next episode, y'all. It's already here. It's upon us. Have a wonderful, amazing, fabulous, incredible rest of your week. And remember, love each other. Goodbye.
Peace.
Bye. Goodbye now. Bye. Goodbye. Bye. Bye now. Bye. Goodbye.
There goes the boy.
Goodbye. Goodbye.